So after a year of waiting, we finally got our first real good look at Pokemon Legends ZA. I just want to preface this before I really get into it. I do think this game looks good. I am excited, and I think I'll enjoy playing this game. It does look pretty good, but there's also, a couple things I am worried about. But first off, I just want to say, starters. Chikorita, Totodile, and Tepig. I did not expect this. I don't think anyone expected them to choose 2 starters from Johto. But hey, they surprised all of us. And we actually got Tepig. I was hoping and praying Tepig would be the Fire-type starter for this game, just because I am a huge Tepig fan. Tepig was my first starter, and I love the Emboar line. And we actually got him. And the fact that he just slides right in, taking Cyndaquil's place, I think that's kind of funny. And I don't mind them taking 2 starters from a single region. I think it gives more opportunity to kind of mix things up in the future. So we'll just have to wait and see for that. But I am very happy with this starter trio simply because of Tepig. I will be choosing Tepig. I'm not sure if they're going to be doing regional forms like they did in Legends Arceus, or if they're going to be doing Megas, which I kind of hope they do end up getting Megas, just because Mega Evolution is super cool. And I had always dreamed of having a Mega Emboar ever since Mega Evolution, was released. And so I'm leaning towards that. I do hope they go the Mega route, especially because they're making a pretty big deal about Megas being back in this game. But let's get into the trailer a little bit. So we actually get to see gameplay, and the first thing that struck me was the graphics. It looks like it's using the same engine and graphical style as Scarlet and Violet, which I think is kind of disappointing. I mean, I didn't really expect anything else, but I just thought Scarlet and Violet, and even Legends Arceus to an extent, did not look good, did not run good. That was my biggest gripes with those games, is just the visual quality and the performance was just so irritating and unenjoyable. It almost takes you out of the experience. I still enjoyed Scarlet and Violet and Arceus, but I do think if they actually looked good and ran good, it would have made a huge difference for me. And Legends ZA does seem to look like it runs well. I didn't see too many, graphical bugs or any frame rate issues. Granted, it didn't look amazing, but it definitely looks better frame rate wise than something like the Legends Arceus trailer, which caused a lot of, controversy back when that came out with all the Pokemon running in like 5 frames in the background. But this one looks like it's going to do well, and as far as the actual graphical fidelity, it looks okay. I definitely think it looks a little bit better than Scarlet and Violet, but I don't think it looks that good. It's really getting tiring year after year, each Pokemon game just still looking so just bland. I mean, we've had Breath of the Wild, Xenoblade, plenty of games on the Switch that, yes, are limited because of the Switch's hardware, but still look incredible. And I just don't think ZA, or any of the recent Pokemon games for that matter, look like they should. This is the biggest media franchise in the world. If they are struggling this much with their graphics, it's not that hard to just hire more people to work on these games. I know Game Freak is a small company, small studio, not many developers, but I do think they need to either, get new people, better talent, or just simply more hands on deck, because these games are not looking up to par. I expect some truly quality games, especially when you compare it to other games literally of the same genre like Pow World. Yes, Pow World was on PC, but it shows that there is real competition now. And when that competition is not only incredible gameplay, but also insanely good graphics compared to Pokemon, it's just going to make Pokemon look even worse. Now, we did know that Legends ZA would take place within Lumio City exclusively. And at first, a lot of people did not like this idea. I think I was one of them. I really like the idea of exploring a big region, lots of different environments and caves and dungeons and stuff like that to find. You feel like you're really exploring this world for the first time. And I think limiting that to just a single city, while yes, the city would be bigger, it just I feel like it would lose some of that, Pokemon charm, that adventurous quality that those old games all had. And I think watching this trailer has helped me in that regard. I think the city does look pretty cool. I think it's going to have a lot to enjoy, a lot to explore, a lot to find. I do think it's going to be jam-packed with content, and I do have high hopes for that. And as far as the actual Pokemon, it looks like we're going to be getting kind of, they said wild zones in the extended trailer, where it's essentially going to be kind of like, I would assume in Sword and Shield, the wild area, but just a small pocket in the city where Pokemon will be spawning. And while this is cool, what they showed us just doesn't look at all interesting. It's just this tiny little like street or alleyway with some like grass overgrowing some of the cobblestone, and some Pokemon will be spawning. And it just seems like so limited. Maybe it's because that specific spot was, so small. I do hope that there's going to be larger areas, maybe like entire sections of the city, like multiple streets that have just plenty of Pokemon, wandering around. But from what we saw, it really isn't that captivating. Now, we did also get to see an actual size comparison of the Lumiose City map compared to the Scarlet and Violet map. And it looks to be about, a quarter, maybe a little bit more, like a third of the size of the Scarlet and Violet map. So it is going to be a pretty small map, even compared to Legends Arceus. But I think that's okay. It does still look big enough to where it feels like an actual city that you can explore. But limiting the size, I think, will be a good move. It'll make everything feel more compact, like there's not a lot of, dead space. And there should be a lot of content pretty much everywhere you go. That was my biggest gripe with Scarlet and Violet, is yes, the map was super big and there was a lot of places to explore, but there was just nothing. There was barely anything to actually find. Even all the cities you could come across just did not feel like cities. There wasn't really any cool dungeons or secrets to find throughout the map. It was just a whole lot of nothing. And I think making a smaller map for Lumiose is going to be a good move in the long run. We did also get to see the new battling gimmick, which I actually think looks really cool. In Arceus, they did the agile and strong attack feature where you could basically choose to let your opponent go more than once in a row, and then your next attack would do more damage, or you could use multiple attacks in a row, but at a lower damage. And it was a cool thing to shake things up. And looks like they're doing another similar thing in ZA, where rather than, a strong or agile attack, every attack looks like it has its own range. And you can actually choose to move your Pokemon and lead them around in battle, almost like it's in real time, but I think it's going to still be turn-based. But you can have them move around the battlefield, and depending on where they are in comparison to the opponent Pokemon, that move will have increased damage. It might not hit them, your Pokemon can dodge attacks, so it gives it this kind of, in the moment, real-time feel. But again, I do think it's still going to be turn-based, just as any other Pokemon game. But it looks like it'll really spice things up, so that I am very excited for. I'm always down for things that really change up the formula, and I think that's what Legends Arceus did so well. Yes, Legends Arceus was not a perfect game, there was a lot of issues with it, but the main reason so many people loved Arceus was because of the changes it made to the formula, with the battling, with the catching Pokemon, and looks like ZA is continuing with that, and I do think it's going to be a really good improvement on what Arceus did. As far as the setting, it looks like a lot of people actually think it's going to take place post X and Y, mainly because we get to see AZ with his Floette, which we know they finally came back together at the end of X and Y. But with the Legends title, it kind of implies that it takes place in the past. Obviously with Arceus, it took place, I think it was like a couple hundred years before Diamond and Pearl. But I think the biggest thing here is because we see AZ and Floette. And while we do know they were together before the war in the Kalos region, the war was supposed to take place like thousands of years ago, I'm pretty sure, like 1,000 years ago. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like Lumiose would not look like this if this was that far in the past. So I think this is actually going to be post X and Y. I don't think there's really any feasible way that this is pre, because we would know that it'd have to be a very long time ago for AZ and Floette to be together before the war, but somehow Lumiose looks almost better than it did in X and Y. So I do think it'd be cool if maybe they introduced like some sort of time travel or something. I do think the story is going to have some really cool, interesting gimmick or twist to it that will make the Legends title make more sense, assuming they're still going for the kind of like ancient history of each region. We'll just have to wait and see. I think it'd be cool to maybe go back in the past and see like ancient Kalos during the war. I don't know, I think there's a lot of opportunity with what you can do with this game, but from what we see, I think it looks good. Obviously, these trailers don't show a lot. We really did not get to see a lot of gameplay. We didn't see any new megas. We didn't really see much of what exactly the story is going to be about. There was not even a hint of what this possible A legendary might be or what the A even means. All we saw was Zygarde in his, cell form and then his 10% form. So there's still a lot to learn, and I hope that we do get more information pretty soon. Overall, from what we did see, I am excited. I have my gripes. I'm not a huge fan of being limited to just the city. I do think it would have been nicer to have some actual biomes to explore. But again, I haven't played the game. It could be fantastic. I could love it. And hopefully the game runs well. That's my biggest concern. I'm fine if it doesn't look, all that pretty. I've enjoyed, Scarlet and Violet for what it was. But as long as the game has, a stable frame rate, I think that'll make a big difference. Anyways, let me know what you guys thought of the Legends ZA trailer. If you are excited, if you maybe lost your excitement after watching this trailer, and what are your thoughts on the starters? I'm curious to see if anyone else is going to choose Tepig like myself. But yeah, that's about it for this one. I'll be making more update videos if we do get more trailers in the future. And as always, my name is Ember, and I'll see you next time.